Now, normally being completely immobile is a huge
What the hell is that? That must be a sea slug.
vulnerability. However, the reason I rank Anemone
Whoa.
normally being completely immobile is a huge vulnerability.
I'm gonna need that number.
However, the
immediately.
Racist against rappers, they all look the same to him. They used to beg him not to egg him on Halloween. He told him holler back with the suede Pumas, dollar green. Nah, I mean, heat it up till the temperature tarball. Y'all just gawk like gargoyle.
TierZoo. I was looking forward to this. I love TierZoo. All right, the jellyfish tier list. Off rip, box jellyfish S tier. Dang. Why are they racing? Oh my goodness. Love it.
This game has seen no shortage of balance patches.
Word.
And like any other game, after a while, some players have started complaining about
Oh no, I shouldn't like
power
that.
creep. Being able to breathe on dry land used to be an incredibly unique and powerful perk, but now it's basically par for the course with around half of the player base.
Yeah.
Being able to see and respond to the actions of other players used to be an incredible advantage, one that literally invalidated a huge number of popular playstyles. The same could be said about warm-blooded respiration, pair bonding and offspring rearing, sociality, and even flight. And yet,
I'm mad that we didn't get flight, bro. We got nerfed so bad, bro.
even after an
I'm still waiting for the update.
uncountable number of game updates, balance patches, and expansion packs, one of the most consistent builds in the meta is the Jellyfish,
That is the freakiest looking jellyfish I've ever seen.
a collection of ancient builds which usually have a grand total of 0 of the aforementioned abilities. Today we're going to discuss why the Jellyfish, as well as other Nadarian and Jelly-like builds, have been able to stand the test of time. We'll
Yeah, because I've never heard of jellyfish going extinct.
talk about the most notable members of the faction, and place them all on the Jellyfish tier list.
So their babies are like microscopic.
But first, an overview of the history of the Jellyfish build.
What is that? That is some freaky. Look at these dongles. That is some freak. Nah, bro.
Plus a quick
This is a jellyfish. That's just freaky.
rundown of the typical stats and abilities they tend to have.
This man got some damn dreadlocks for tentacles.
Jellyfish have some of the strangest stat spreads in the entire game.
What in the world?
The most obvious quirk is that their intelligence and perception stats are basically 0.
Wow.
Jellyfish have no central nervous system, and so essentially all intelligence and perception-based abilities are completely locked on their skill tree. The lack of a brain means jellyfish have to play mostly on autopilot, and rely on pre-programmed...
That's messed up. That's messed up.
The lack of a brain means jellyfish have to play mostly on autopilot.
That's so messed up.
And rely on pre-programmed reflexes and instincts to steer them away from danger and towards food.
Yo, that's so messed up, bro.
But those aren't their only extremely weird stats. Jellyfish possess some incredible regenerative abilities and can recover from basically any damage, which is good because jellyfish have next to no defense at all. They're comprised of around 95% water, and their outer layer is a simple jelly-like substance that offers very little protection.
Oh my god.
Luckily, because of the fact they're almost entirely composed of water, they blend in quite well with the water. Many of them are nearly invisible,
That's freaky.
and all are translucent to some extent, which makes them extremely difficult to detect via eyesight. What most players know about jellyfish, though, is how absolutely cracked their damage stat is.
Ugh.
The jellyfish
Oh, you got slapped in the face by a Manawar?
most players know about jellyfish, though, is how
I heard Manawar stings are horrible.
absolutely cracked their damage stat is.
They're not even jellyfish, they're siphonophores, but I'm not finna get nerdy.
The jellyfish's special ability, Nematocyst, allows for massive venom damage upon even the slightest contact with their tentacles.
Jesus.
This isn't universal, as some jellyfish possess far more potent venom than others, a topic we'll cover extensively during the tier list portion of this video. But nonetheless, most
that mug got fried.
competent players fear getting too close to any jellyfish because
What?
of their deadly reputation.
Oh, that's Steve-O.
Their
That's Steve-O. Never mind, that's Steve-O.
stat spread may seem completely
I would love to just squish a jellyfish, but at the same time, I wouldn't.
nonsensical until you realize what the meta was like when the jellyfish was first added to the game. I've covered quote-unquote ancient builds before on this channel, builds like the shark, scorpion, and centipede, but jellyfish vastly predate all of them.
Jesus. I mean, that makes sense because, like, you gotta remember, like, nothing was evolved back in the day. Like, things were literally just floating around, farting around, just waiting for stuff to float into their mouths and stuff.
Jellyfish were one of the first, if not the first, major faction of multicellular builds. And so they had
I just don't understand how they work. Like, how do they function?
very little need for defenses and intelligence when there was very little to
Like, what?
defend yourself from or to outsmart. Drifting along, filter feeding on plankton worked just fine. Some might argue it still does. Even though cephalopods, fish, and arthropods were added to the
Cuttlefish, that is freaky.
game soon after, jellyfish remained extremely popular. So after 500 million years of balance patches and game updates, let's see which jellyfish builds come out on top.
Awaken to a world of wonder in Final Fantasy XIV Online.
I don't want to. I hear that dude smiling. In Final Fantasy 14. Shut up, bro, please. Moon jelly. Oh, yeah, these are like the dumbest ones, I think. They literally just exist.
At the bottom of the tier list, we've got the moon jelly, one of the most common jellyfish builds in the game, and yet one that doesn't really make use of the jellyfish build's more interesting abilities. Moon jellies have uniquely short
These are the ones that you see in the aquarium all the time because they're just so. They literally just be vibing, bro. They don't do nothing.
tentacles which deal fairly minimal damage. This makes them much less of a threat than basically all other jellies. In addition to that, moon jellies are notably more nutritious than other jellyfish, making them common
What?
targets for any player that's able to survive their fairly minimal defenses.
That's insane. That's an insane nerf.
In fact, moon jellyfish are one of the only jellyfish which are actively preyed upon by other jellyfish,
Oh.
even when fully grown. The moon jelly's playstyle is entirely passive, relying on its quick respawn rate and strong matchup against plankton to make
You can eat me, but you can't eat this net. Okay.
it worthwhile. Moon jellies are becoming a popular choice in the recent meta as they have a natural resistance to microplastic poisoning, negating one of the main challenges other marine
That's insane, bro.
players have had to learn to adapt to recently. So it is a solid starter build for players trying to learn the ocean meta, but one that I think most competent players will quickly move on from.
Yeah. Comb jelly.
Next in F tier we have the comb jelly. Comb jellies are some of the most unique jellyfish builds in the game. In fact,
That's just freaky.
even calling them jellyfish is contentious as they are technically not part of the Nedarian faction. Nonetheless, they are gelatinous and have most of the same abilities
There's a Pokemon based off of them, Alomora.
as jellyfish, so I wanted to include them anyway. Their main difference is that comb jellies do not move by pulsing their bell, and instead swim by using rows of cilia. This offers a slightly greater degree of agility
Dang, that ain't was moving.
and control
I thought they just floated.
compared to your standard jellyfish build.
That's crazy.
Their tentacles are also slightly different, being lined with adhesive glue rather than venomous microbarbs. This is quite efficient at capturing small prey, but is completely useless
What in the world?
on defense. And because they still do not possess an advanced nervous system, the fact that they have greater control over their movement via their cilia doesn't amount to that big of an advantage in practice. They still can't dodge predator attacks because they cannot dodge an attack that they don't know is coming.
Wow.
This build has a lot of potential if they can just put a few more points into intelligence. But for now, I'm still going to place them in F tier.
Yeah, that's crazy. Sea nettle.
At the bottom of D tier, we have the sea nettle. The sea nettle is essentially the most basic, average jellyfish build in the game. It embodies every feature of the archetype,
This is what I expect when I see jellyfish.
yet excels at none of them and doesn't really have any additional unique abilities. The sea nettle has decent length tentacles that can inflict solid damage, potentially lethal to builds within its own weight class,
They are huge.
but still not strong enough to really merit the extreme caution their reputation has impressed on the player base. With low medium size and the same nearly non-existent nervous system, sea nettles may be more well defended than the moon jelly, but with even the slightest bit of clever counterplay, they still fall apart immediately.
Coral is jellyfish?
Next, in D tier, we have the coral. You might be surprised to see coral on the jellyfish tier list.
Yeah.
And indeed, I am stretching the definition a little bit.
Okay, word. I understand.
They are a part of the Nedarian faction, and are less different once you
Yeah, I guess if you include the comb jelly, you might as well include the coral, I guess. That's insane though.
look more closely. Their early game is pretty much identical to the jellyfish, but rather than remaining free-floating,
That's baby coral?
they settle onto rocks and surfaces along the seabed and attach to a single point, dropping their mobility stat to 0 for the
I'm telling you, bro, we don't need to look at aliens. We just need to look at our sea life because this is freaky. We're just acting like this is normal.
remainder of their playthrough. To compensate, corals then activate their signature ability, Calcify, constructing an incredibly sturdy exoskeleton around themselves, and massively buffing their defense stat in the process.
I've never actually seen coral grow. Like, this is insane.
As this exoskeleton grows, the coral will also clone itself, eventually granting the player control over an entire colony of coral.
Wow.
All to accomplish one thing, AFK experience farming. Once
That's crazy.
established, the hard part of their playthrough is over, and they can now filter feed for essentially as long as they like. So an easy build to play if you can make it past their vulnerable planktonic early game, although unfortunately the climate change balance patch seems to be a pretty harsh nerf to this playstyle.
Yeah, the coral reefs are being destroyed. Portuguese Manawar, that is a Saphanophore.
And at the top of D tier we have the other colonial Cnidarian, the Manawar. This build sports medium damage, much higher than the moon jelly or sea nettle, but
Yeah.
still not the instant death level venom that some of the higher tier jellyfish have. Like other jellyfish, it has low mobility and terrible defenses.
There's literally a video on TikTok of people just popping washed up Manawar balloons.
But I would say that the Manawar is uniquely vulnerable to predation due to the fact that rather than having a bell to propel itself through the water, instead the Manawar has a balloon, making them very easy to detect and attack from above, where many seabirds hunt.
Sheesh.
In addition, any damage to the balloon could easily cause it to deflate, sending the Manawar straight to the depths for an instant game over, which negates the advantage most jellyfish have of being able to regenerate from minor to moderate damage. Lastly, the Manawar seems to be uniquely vulnerable to getting beached during severe storms,
Yeah, there's literally people on TikTok who pop the Manawar balloons.
likely also due to their positioning on the surface of the water where they get beaten around by the waves and the wind. Still, not something you want to be trading hits with if you're a fish.
Yeah, no. Lion's mane.
In C
Lion's mane is only C tier?
tier we have the lion's mane. This is the largest jellyfish build in the game,
I was about to say, aren't they huge?
sporting a massive HP stat and tentacles that can reach lengths of 120 feet,
Oh my god. Like, bro, come on now.
longer than the blue whale end to end.
What? I didn't know they were that big. That's outrageous.
Giant as it may be, its power stat is still below average, as its venom still isn't really enough to take down anything much larger than a minnow. You would think a bigger jellyfish would go after bigger prey, but similar to the whale, it uses its large size to hit a larger area with its attacks, with the hope
Wow.
of getting frequent multi-kills. Its large size makes
Killtrocity.
it very difficult to kill, simply by nature of it being able to literally survive half of itself being eaten.
The definition of a tank.
And there isn't much out there that would need to eat more than half. Still, with its stings being fairly weak, they aren't really threatening enough to merit placement in the higher tiers.
Wow.
Moving on up to
Anemone.
B tier, we have the
Sea anemone?
anemone.
Well, yeah, coral, I guess.
Similar to coral, anemones are closely related to jellyfish, but opt for a sedentary playstyle rather than a free-roaming one. Unlike coral, though, anemones protect themselves using powerful venomous stingers rather than a hard calcified exoskeleton.
I would not want to get stinged by an anemone.
Rather than filter feeding on plankton like corals do, they also use this venom to catch and kill prey.
I never seen a sea anemone eat a fish. This is ridiculous.
Many of them possess extremely powerful venom, enough to cause organ failure even in larger builds like humans.
What?
Now, normally being completely immobile is a huge
What the hell is that? That must be a sea slug.
vulnerability. However, the reason I rank anemone
Whoa.
normally being completely immobile is a huge vulnerability.
I'm gonna need that number.
However, the reason I
Immediately.
rank anemones so high in spite of this weakness is that anemones are some of the best team combo builds in the entire game, forming excellent team comps with both clownfish and crabs. In the case of the clownfish, the anemone and the clownfish cover each other's weaknesses, deterring the predators that the other is vulnerable to. Similar to jellyfish, anemones are vulnerable to sea turtles, as they are resistant to their venom. Clownfish valiantly fight for their teammate, even against those
Man, there's no way a turtle gets beat by a clownfish.
sea turtles, which are gargantuan by comparison. And in return, predators
That's insane. You're not gonna, no, don't get on this internet and disrespect turtles, bro. Take that back.
predatory fish that would love to score an easy kill on a small, vulnerable fish need to tank a mouthful of nematocysts to even have a chance at attacking a clownfish.
Golly.
And in the crab's case, rather than fighting off turtles, the crab will actually attach the anemone to itself, gaining venom damage on its own attacks in exchange
I've never seen that.
for granting the anemone its mobility back. So, while probably only low to mid-tier on its own, The combo potential of this build makes it an optimal choice
I had no idea about the crab stuff. Where is my son?
in many scenarios and bumps it up to B tier. And
Box
finally,
jelly. Oh,
jumping all the way up
no, nothing in nothing A tier.
to S tier, we have the box jelly. When it comes to overpowered venom, there is quite literally not a single character in the game that has the box jelly beat.
Yeah.
Its neurotoxic venom is extremely deadly, rapidly paralyzing the victim,
Dang.
quickly leading to suffocation and cardiac arrest. In addition to having the highest damage of any jellyfish, box jellies also have the highest stealth stat. While many jellyfish sport a wide range of translucent
The what?
color
So the nearly invisible jellyfish are box jellyfish.
like red and blue, box jellyfish are almost completely transparent, as close to invisible
What?
as possible. In addition, because they sport fewer tentacles and therefore experience less hydrodynamic drag, and because of their unique bell shape which allows them to jet through the water,
They are tiny.
box jellyfish have the highest mobility stat of any jelly. This makes them incredibly difficult to detect and avoid as they zoom through coastal waters, leading many players to simply avoid the territory entirely rather
Wow.
than risk potential encounters. The hallmark of a high-tier build. And as if all of that wasn't cracked enough, box jellyfish are unique in that they're the only jellyfish which have eyes, allowing them
They can see?
to detect danger and avoid obstacles. This enables them to thrive in less open areas where prey like to hide, such as kelp
Wow.
forests or mangrove swamps. Coupled with their higher mobility stat, this actually enables the box jellyfish to actively pursue prey rather than simply drifting with the current and hoping
I've never seen a jellyfish digest something.
to catch something. With the exception of tankiness and tentacle attack range, box jellyfish are strictly superior to all other jellies, which is why they're such an
Wow.
outlier on the tier list. I also wanted to highlight a unique member of the box jelly faction, the Irukandji. The Irukandji is a dwarf variant of the box jelly, maxing out at only an inch or two long, yet also sports the same incredibly potent toxin and all of the other special traits the box jelly possesses, plus one additional trait, bell stingers. Most jellyfish have a pretty massive weak point, their bell. It can be attacked safely without
So that thing is protected on all sides.
the risk of being stung, so long as the attacker avoids the tentacles. The Irukandji simply does not have this weakness, as every millimeter of its surface is covered in the same deadly stingers.
That's crazy.
As a result, even accidentally bumping into the Irukandji can result in an instant game over,
What?
which has a lot of players worried given how much more popular this build has become lately. This is obviously a super risky playstyle
And look at how tiny it is.
as the Irukandji itself has the lowest HP stat of any build I've ever covered on this channel. Even just swimming into an obstacle is damaging enough to kill an Irukandji, so they need to play extremely carefully.
What?
Guys, try not to skip and listen to me. Please do everything you can to
And can't take advantage of the obstacle-heavy
Wow.
environments that the other box jellies can. So that's the jellyfish
So that's a glass cannon build.
tier list. Generally, I rate most of them low to mid tier, with the exception of the truly formidable outlier of the box jelly. Before we wrap up, I do want to cover some counterplay options. I mentioned it a few times in the video, but sea turtles have a flat-out unlosable matchup against jellyfish, being completely immune to their venom, and so they are able to safely attack and digest them. But
Yeah, that's crazy.
another lesser known but even
Oh, the little, yeah.
more effective counter to jellyfish is the sea slugs.
Sea
Not
slugs.
only are they immune to the venom, but they can actually absorb the stingers and convert them into their own defensive weapons,
Yeah, that's why you're not supposed to pick them up, but people still pick them up for some reason.
basically giving them all the deadly benefits of the jellyfish without the drawback of being basically brainless. I expect both of these builds to become a lot more popular as jellyfish numbers continue to increase.
Wow.
So if you're looking to score some easy wins, I recommend
And sea slugs are also tiny too.
learning the strategies of both of these excellent builds. I hope to do a sea slug video soon, so be on the lookout for that, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it when it drops.
Yeah, I gotta see that.
Speaking of not missing important video releases, I'd like to remind all my viewers that the best way to watch my content is with Nebula, the sponsor of this video. It's best for you because you'll get
Shout out Nebula. Shout out TierZoo. Good video, bro. I'm surprised. I mean, I knew box jelly were gonna be high, but I didn't realize all the other ones were gonna be so low. Like, I just didn't know that was a thing. And an ant tier list would go crazy. I would love that.